And in honor of Women's History Month, we have Tazine and Madeline here. We're going to be talking about self-love, our journeys to self-love, and just womanhood in general. So maybe if we can go around the virtual room and share a little bit about ourselves, like a brief introduction of who you are, what you do. I'll kick it off. So we're all on the STUK team. I am a STUK board member. My name is Jennifer Vassal. I am a children's book author based in Los Angeles. I write about self-love and inspiring kids and adults to overcome their insecurities and share their gifts with the world. That's what I do. And who would like to go next?
Madeline?
Sure, I'll kick it off. So I'm Madeline, and I'm from Jeffersonville, Indiana, but I'm receiving my master's right now at the University of Notre Dame. That's in northern Indiana. And I also serve as Miss Indiana Volunteer, which is within the Miss Volunteer America organization. And I am STUK's programs manager, but I'm also highly associated with a nonprofit called I Am That Girl, which is all about female empowerment. So this is right up my alley.
Amazing.
Great. My name is Tazine, and I'm from Mumbai, India. I think few people who have been following STUK probably know I am the STUK's blog and podcast manager. I'm also currently studying to become a dentist here in Mumbai. And yeah, I'm a writer, and I love writing about mental health and feminism and just self-love and self-care. That's what I'm passionate about. That's what I talk about. That's what I post about. So yeah, that's what I love doing, and I'm doing it.
Amazing, amazing. So tell us about a little bit about yourself, each of your self-love journey. I know the journey to self-love is not easy. It's not something that comes, well, at least for most people, I would say it's not something that we wake up with, where we nurture our gifts and we love who we are. But tell us a little bit about your journey to owning who you are and loving the skin that you're in.
I'll go. So I grew up dancing. I was a ballerina, and I also did theater professionally, which, as you can imagine, as a really young girl, I started when I was 8 years old. There's a lot of comparison that comes through that because you're honestly always in competition with other young women. So like at a really early age, I was very aware of body image, and sometimes it would bring me down because I'm more of like, I have more of a curvy build, and ballerinas like tended not to at the time. I know that that industry has kind of changed, and you know how we just accept, you know, like different bodies like doing different things. It doesn't matter what you look like. But that was really hard on me when I was young. So I would say like probably when I started high school is when I became more aware of self-love. And when I got into college, like my junior year, I all of a sudden kind of like developed more anxiety that I had never experienced. And I think it really came with that huge pressure on me all the time of like having a certain appearance. And at that time, I really started focusing on my mental health. I got therapy for the first time. I also really started like focusing on creativity through self-love, reading, drawing, writing, meditating, and it's changed my life.
I love that. Yeah, and mental health is definitely something that uh, is a priority for me too. Just making sure that I'm like, if just like how we go and get our car serviced, we get our nails done and all that, but like we definitely need that mental work to keep our minds going, keep us in sync with everything, especially with everything that's going on. How
Mm-hmm.
about you, Christine? What's your self-love journey like, or how's it been?
Um, Obviously a tough one, I guess, and I think there's a reason why we call it a self-love journey because it is never ending. It feels like every single day there are new obstacles in your way, external or internal, and every single day you're overcoming these obstacles, you're breaking these barriers, and every single day you learn more about your own worth and you learn to value yourself over and over again each day. And I think that that is what has happened with me too so far. Personally, ever since I was little, I have taken to writing as a form of self-care, a form of self-consolation, if you will. I have been writing when I'm at my worst, when I'm at my best, when I'm feeling demotivated. when I feel inspired, like I do this thing where, because I know that I'm not going to feel my best every single day because it's not possible. So what I do is when I am feeling my best, when I am feeling motivated, I write a sort of letter to myself and, mentioning every single goal that I feel so motivated to accomplish on that particular day. And I just pen down all this energy that I'm feeling onto that letter. And I know that when I'm feeling down, I'm going to open this book and I'm going to look back and I'm going to read all this and I'm going to remind myself of why I need to push through these bad days, these days of like slump and just, absolute like devastation, why I need to push through and what are my goals and why I need to get there. So I think that that has been a really big form of self-consolation for me. And when I do submissions and when I write pieces about mental health, about, self-love, and when I tell people how you need to take care of yourself and how there are so many different forms of self-care, that really helps me get through things as well. So I feel like we're all in this self-love journey together.
Yes, and to add to that, that's I do something similar is as far as writing things down. One thing that I love to do at the top of the new year is to write my goals as if it already happened. I write it
Mm-hmm.
as if it's already December 31st, 2022, and I'm writing it like this and this happened. And I like to read it at the end of the year to see what has come to pass. But it really helps me to stay motivated when it gets hard. Being a creative is there's no straight and narrow road for being a creative. There's not a blueprint for that. And so a lot of times we are called to be our own blueprint, but going back and seeing the writing there, seeing what you made come to pass has always helped me to keep going.
Hmm. And even to add to that, Tazine, not even to add, but to comment on how aware you are, that you mentioned you write in the good and the bad. And it's not always about writing like when you're at your worst, or like it's every single day, and knowing that self-love is a practice that you're growing through all the time. Like that's really inspiring.
And I see a few people trickling in. I just want to share that we're talking about self love, and in honor of Women's History Month, we're talking about our journeys, what it is to be a woman in our respective spaces, and join in on the conversation. If you have a question, go ahead and use the little question bubble at the bottom and ask away. The other question I had for you too is what struggles did you face, if any, on your path in your respective industries? Like being a woman in dentistry, for example, or a woman um, in the nonprofit sector, Madeline, or
Hmm.
where you're navigating. How has your identity impacted, or how have you struggled in your respective industries?
Sure. Well, I can go. I would definitely say that
Yeah, sure.
through any kind of competition, like take pageantry, for example, it's really difficult when it comes to self-love because you're obviously always looking at other people who look completely different from you, who have a completely different job. And sometimes you might be like envious of something that they have that you don't. And it's really been a practice for me of showing up every day in the things that make me unique because I know, I mean, I was never like a beauty queen. I never considered myself anything like that, but like I love my intellect. So being able to invest myself as deeply as I can in my work through my nonprofit and volunteering is how I show up and how I define myself as someone who is unique. And that's another self-love practice in itself, like giving back to your community because it's like scientifically proven that you're going to be a happier person when you give back to others who don't have as much as you. So that's like one of the biggest ways that I show self-love.
I love it. And comparison is definitely, as the old adage says, comparison is a thief of joy. Like we're always looking over our shoulders, seeing what such and such person is doing. And social media doesn't help at all
No.
because everything is in real time.
Not at
We
all.
see it in real time. How about you, Tazine? How has being a woman in your industry impacted you, or what have you faced?
I think that just being a woman in general, obviously, talking about the industry and talking about specific niche, but also just being a woman in general is very challenging. It's not just about fighting for equality, right? You're also, like Madeline spoke about comparison, we're also constantly being pitted against each other, is what I feel like. On a lot of days, there's this thing where people, it feels as though people want women to fight each other. They want women
Mhm.
to try to tear each other down and try to, you know, destroy each other's paths. And that kind of does the work for them. So then their path is clear to, climb to the top. And I feel like that is something that we still need to work on, no matter where we are, whether I am working as a dentist, whether it is Madeline as she speaks about her challenges in pageantry, or you in your field. And I think that's what we also teach in our nonprofit, that you really need to understand that we're working as a team here because
Mhm.
we've been restricted for so long. We have been, pushed to the side for so long that if we try to fight each other, we're not going to get anywhere. We need to work
Mhm.
together and we need to move forward in that direction. And speaking of the society that I belong to specifically, it is evolving considerably. It has evolved. I will give it that. But there is still a long, long way to go. There's still so many conversations about how women are not supposed to do certain specific tasks just because, they're women. And I've seen a
Mhm.
lot of people sometimes question our credibility just because we are women. So I think that is going to take time, obviously, which is the sad part. That is going to take time to get better. But I feel like working towards it together as women, as sisters, I think that is what is going to do the trick. And I think that's what is going to get us through.
Mhm.
And we are talking about Women's History Month. Uh, what woman, dead or alive, dead or living, has inspired you on your journey? And what did they say, do? What impacted you about that woman?
Mm. There's a couple people for me. I think Maya Angelou, like her quote about people won't remember what you said, they won't remember what you did, but they will remember like how you made them feel. And in my
Mhm.
work in nonprofit, like that has guided me through all the way. Like I want to make an impact on someone by how I made them feel about themselves and change their life. But also Emma Watson, like as an actress and the way that she's kind of decided I don't have to be this image for anyone in front of the camera. Like she's taken the lead and getting behind the camera and creating films about women for women, which I think is so inspiring, considering that gap in female creatives, which is that's amazing that she's kind of taken that step.
Love that.
For me too, I guess there's so many, but I think the ones that I can think right now on the top of my head is this actress Jamila Jamil. She plays Tahani in The Good Place, and I've been following her for a long time, and she is such a wonderful person. She is a mental health activist. She's a body positivity activist, and she regularly has such empowering and open and brave conversations about
Mhm.
mental health and about body positivity because she herself has suffered an eating disorder in the past. And she talks
Oh,
about how the media kind of manipulates young women and young girls through like magazines and through like selling like weight loss drinks and all these things. And she really talks about all those things. And she talks about how the media portrays women as compared to men. Like she will often give you comparison headlines that they've used for women as compared to what they've used for men. So I think
mhm.
that is a really powerful and a brave thing to do in this time and age when everything literally depends on social media and just media in general. And she's fierce and she stands up for what she believes in and she stands for the people around her. Like her community is very tight knit, it's very strong. I love that about her. And I think The others that I can think of are the women, Katherine Johnson and Mary Jackson and Dorothy Vaughan, the
Yes.
women that were, Hidden Figures was based on. And I think, my goodness, I think people at STUK Designs, they know that that is my favorite movie of all times, because why shouldn't it be? I mean, these women were incredible. They had all the odds stacked against them. There were women, and then there were women of color in a white male dominated environment. And they pushed through that back then.
Mm,
So it makes me think, why can't I do things now? Right? They've done it. They've shown me the way, and I think that I can push through as well. So I think these are the women that really inspire me.
And
yeah.
seeing those stories on screen is definitely empowering. I heard that um, they were celebrated internally, but we never knew about their stories, or it wasn't widely broadcast. So it's just great to read the stories, see them, because it gives us permission to really live our lives out loud. So I love that movie. Was really good. I remember when it came out, I was eager to go see it. For me, as far as like who inspires me, I always think about my grandmother. She We celebrated her 102nd birthday this past January, and
Wow.
she is
Wow.
so. I hope that I can live at least a fraction of that. But we have a lot of strong-willed, determined women
Mm,
that came to this country just really resilient. They didn't take no for an answer, raising so many children. I'm just like, I'm only responsible for myself and I can barely do that. But imagine like raising so many kids and then their kids, and just seeing her work so hard and come here and continue with that same uh, vigor. I just, that inspires me to keep going. Um, and though we are on different paths, like I've chosen a different career path than most of my family. Most of my family comes from a medical background, and I'm more
mm,
on the creative and writing side. But though we are in different industries, I still hold tight to that energy to not give up. Like no matter how much you're being down and fail, you take those failures as like a learning opportunity and learning lesson to keep pushing. And I see that in them, and I see that coming through me and my work. So they definitely inspire me. Well, my grandmother mostly because she's like our matriarch, and yeah,
what I hear from that, Jennifer, is resilience. And I think that's
hmm
something that women do so well and we have like throughout time and still have to apply in our daily lives. Same for you, Tazine. I'm sure you've spoken a lot about how your culture is so different and how you're still even fighting to have rights as a woman, which I think it's so inspiring to stay resilient and stay confident in who you are and keep fighting for your goals.
yes. And how are each of you making history in your personal or professional life?
Mm. That's a great one. I think I'm, I'm the first person in my family to pursue a master's and a PhD, which is huge for me. And being a woman to be the first, so inspiring. Um, Also, just in pageantry as well, or pursuing a career in the arts. I'll have been the first person in my family to do that. And I think that there's something to be said about, thrusting yourself into an industry that isn't always accepting of people who don't have like a family legacy behind them. Um, so that's how I'm definitely making history.
And congratulations on your pursuing your PhD.
Thank you.
I think every time a woman stands her ground and speaks up for herself and, works to get her goals, I think she's making history, because we've been suppressed for so long. And I think that I'm making a difference and I'm making an impact by talking about things that matter, and in other aspects of my life, just not backing down and constantly, getting up no matter how many falls I take, because let me tell you, those are a lot of falls. But, here I am pushing through. And I think that that is an incredibly important thing to note, for me, for the women in my family, and for, just women in general all around, that you need to understand that you don't have to achieve the greatest of things in terms of, what the world considers great. If you're doing what you love, if you're living your life on your own terms and not letting anybody else dictate what you do, you are making your own history, and you need to be a part of that, and you need to own that. So I think that that is incredibly important. For me, for instance, I'm going to be the first doctor in my family. And so it's like one side of the family, I'm being the first doctor. The other side, I'm the first female doctor. So it's like that is my own little victory. And apart from that, but that's like a very small part of it. I'm choosing to do what I want. I'm choosing to do what I love. And I think that all the women, they need to do that. So yeah, that's how we are all making history right now, I feel.
Yes, congratulations on that too. Um, I the way that I feel that I'm making history is being the first in my family to go down the creative entrepreneurship path. Like we do have entrepreneurial type folks in my family, but none that are going through children's media or entering that industry and understanding entertainment or making a career out of it at least. So that's the first. And I think in general, making history to me means doing the things that you said you're going to do and not letting fear stifle you.
Oh, wow.
Think, yeah, I
Powerful.
feel like we could do so much if we just don't let that part of us hold us back. And I'm speaking to myself. There are times where I can feel myself slowing down the momentum because of the fear, but but the idea of continuing the movement and the movement in the right direction, I think that that sets you up for making impact and really charting your own path.
Definitely. And even I feel like that fear is sometimes caused simply because we are women. Like
Mm,
it'll be,
Hmm.
well, maybe I'm too young of a woman, or I won't be taken seriously, or people will
mhm.
just see a
Oh
beautiful
gosh.
face and not understand like my heart for service. That has been on my mind so many times. And I really do think that that's a roadblock that we need to educate young women about, especially. Like you have to push past those boundaries.
Exactly. That is so true. I cannot tell you the number of times that I felt that, I am doing this particular thing, but are people even going to take me seriously? Are they going to think this is the work of a little girl? Because
Yeah.
that's what a lot of the times we are made to feel.
Hmm.
But you know what? I'm like, here's the thing. What I'm doing right now has value. It has, it's a thing of substance, and people are going to have to take it seriously because this is what I'm doing and I'm owning up to it. I think that we've just got to keep pushing because we're going to have so many obstacles in our way. Like I said, internal, external, and Jennifer just spoke about fear. And I think that, wow, that really needs to be worked on.
Hmm.
What advice would each of you give to a young woman who is struggling with owning who she is as a woman and being crippled by that fear factor?
For me, it was about finding good mentorship. And I think that young women should find someone like us, for example, who has already made it past a few of those obstacles, but is still, fighting in that direction to do what she wants to do. It's all about opening up conversation, and that's why I love I Am That Girl, because we have these small circles of young women who are going through the same struggles, and even just being able to create that community to have that conversation with each other opens up a whole world of possibilities for them that they really didn't know about.
Yeah.
Incredible.
I
Wow.
second the mentorship piece. I
Hmm.
and and to add to the mentorship thing, I noticed that there is some like I'll get emails or messages from fresh graduates. And I think some folks think that mentorship has to be formal or
Not at
they
all.
like you need to like reach out to somebody and get 30 minutes to an hour of their time. I just want to put it out there that you could be mentored from afar. There are
Hmm.
people online and offline that I read their books, I support their work, I go to their whatever they're wherever they're speaking at, and I gather all most of the information that they're putting out there because 9 times out of 10, the people who we admire, who have been, who are a few steps ahead, they're leaving breadcrumbs. So you don't
Hmm.
necessarily have to have a formal one-on-one mentorship relationship with somebody, you could definitely be mentored from a distance and take it from there.
Absolutely. There are people who mentor me and I mentor them all the time on social media, even just by
Mhm.
giving positive comments. So it can be as organic as that.
Yeah. Were you going to say something, Tazine? I think I cut you off.
No, no, that's totally fine. I was just saying that, like Madeline said, it's all about just something that's organic. I think that a part of it is following the right people also on social media because it can be very toxic. But like you
Mhm.
said, if you're just commenting, empowering things on each other's posts, finding that network, finding that group of people, because we have to admit the fact that children nowadays are going to spend a majority of their time on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook or whatever it is. Facebook's outdated, so sorry. But yeah, I think that finding that and also the being aware of the fact that people, no matter what you do, are always going to try to bring you down. You could be the kindest
Mhm.
person on earth and people will have something bad to say about you. You could be the most beautiful woman in the world and people are going to still, nitpick at things that you lack in or your flaws, even if they are none. But here's the thing, you are the only one that's going to be with you for the rest of your life. And you really got to believe in yourself because a lot of the times what happens is when we are facing hurdles and obstacles, we kind of lose that confidence in ourselves. Like this is what personally happens with me. Every now and then I'm like in this headspace where I don't believe in myself anymore. I'm not confident. The things that I know that I am capable of doing, I'm just not able to see it. So I think that you really need to be your biggest supporter, your number one like cheerleader, and just
Mhm.
keep pushing on the right path because it doesn't matter what people think. It doesn't matter what people say. They're going to keep projecting their insecurities on you, but you have really got to have your own bag and push through. And then you will definitely find the right women to build a community with. And yeah, you're going
Mhm.
to thrive in that community.
Mhm.
And I always think in the back of my mind that people's reaction to you is a reflection of how they talk to themselves,
Yes.
negative or positive. If you're if they're triggered by something that you post, that's really, it has nothing to do with you. It's their perception of the
Mhm.
world, how they see you, and it has nothing to do with you. So I always think about that. And people act out and they speak their insecurities, and that
Mhm.
you have no control over that. You can create your boundaries or just recognize it and bless and release them. But I mean, you can create your own orbit or your own circle of influence of people who are like-minded, who build as they climb or lift as they climb. And surrounding yourself around those type of people really build that energy that you need to continue pushing on, because you need high vibrational people, go getters. Like if we're talking about womanhood, women making history, you can't be around low vibrational people who
Mhm.
are constantly negative or constantly insecure and not looking for ways to heal.
Mhm.
So
To
yeah.
tie a few of those things together, I think we've been talking about, Tazine mentioned that women so often we fight against each other.
Mm,
And I think, that conversation about collaboration over competition starts in those moments here where you need to recognize if a woman is speaking out against you or saying false things, maybe out of jealousy, most of the time out of insecurity. We should take that as an opportunity to fill them up, rather than competing against each other in that moment. That's a huge gap that needs to be filled. Sometimes it's about making space and creating boundaries because, there are some people who that negative energy will just not go away, but some people might need to be filled up. Like maybe they don't have any validation in their life, but in that moment you could say, well, you're beautiful too, like remind them and be that
Right.
person.
no,
Exactly.
that's great. That's great. So we're gonna wrap it up. I know it's a little late, so we would just want to make sure that we're being respectful. One last thing before we all go, please share any projects, any events, or things that you have coming up. How can
Mhm.
people stay connected with you?
Well, the Miss Volunteer America competition, that's the national competition for my title that I have right now. That's going to be May 5th through 7th. And I'm hoping that there is some sort of live stream that's going on during this. So I'll be sure to share that with everyone. And follow me on my journey through my STUK and I Am That Girl school tour that I've been going on. I have a lot of information coming out about that, and just support those kids. They need that.
Yes, and I think we at STUK Designs, we have a few exciting things coming up that we're all like super passionate about and we're working on it. So please look forward to that. And of course, a lot of our podcast episodes are going to be out soon. So yeah, keep following us at STUK Designs. You can find me on Instagram at Tazine double underscore shake. And yeah, that's it.
Support her writing.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes, please. If you find something you like, please let me know.
Amazing. Well, thank you, ladies, for this great conversation. I loved it. And thank you for all those who tuned in. We'll have the recording available if anybody missed the beginning parts, but this was really great. Thank you all.
Thank you so
Thank you
much for
so much for
inviting
having
us.
us. Thank you.
No problem. Have a good weekend.
Bye.
Have a great weekend,
Okay.
guys. Bye.
Bye.